Scoring for Kilmarnock against Celtic a year ago, a result which would have made Tommy Burns a happy man then. It's all changed now, of course, and Kilmarnock have this week prepared for the match, hoping to upset their former manager. But Williamson says that, among the players at least, there are no hard feelings about the Burns walkout.
The players understand that's football. Tommy's heart's always been at Celtic, that's been proven. But when he was at Kilmarnock, he gave 100%, he was a Kilmarnock man through and through at the time. But the players don't think anything less of him for that.
Meanwhile, the Kilmarnock board have urged their fans not to cause trouble at Hampden tomorrow. In a cool message in last week's match programme, Chairman Bobby Fleeting asked them to refrain from verbal abuse of Celtic and their management team as the battle for compensation from the Parkhead club for Burns' departure goes on.
On Friday Sports Scene, a war of words between Celtic manager Tommy Burns and his former chairman Bobby Fleeting.
And the goals from Tannadice, which mean Dundee United face a battle to survive in Europe.
He was at Kilmarnock, he's now with Celtic. The clubs are still at war.
Trying emotional blackmail, I didn't think was ever going to work. And it almost did, to be honest, it almost did.
I would do it again, and if it is emotional blackmail, I'm making no apologies for it.
The directors of Kilmarnock will tomorrow boycott the Celtic boardroom at Hampden in a new twist to the Tommy Burns affair. It's the first time the two clubs have met since Burns' controversial summer switch from Rugby Park to Celtic Park. In an interview with Friday Sports Scene, the Celtic manager says Kilmarnock chairman Bobby Fleeting acted in very poor taste and he accuses him of attempting emotional blackmail. Fleeting has responded in furious fashion. Chick Young reports.
The ill feeling between Celtic and Kilmarnock over the alleged poaching of Tommy Burns and Billy Stark has reached a new high. Celtic had asked Killie to pay in advance for a percentage of the 3,500 tickets requested for tomorrow's league game at Hampden, a demand they have now backed down on. But it is clear the rift between Parkhead and Rugby Park is widening, with Burns and Kilmarnock chairman Bobby Fleeting still bitter about what happened in the summer.
Mr. Fleeting could possibly have handled the thing, as I say, with a lot more dignity. There was things said between him and I that he chose to make public, which I found was very, very poor taste for a man that's representing Kilmarnock Football Club and a club of that stature. But I've got to live my life the way I think it should be lived, and trying emotional blackmail I didn't think was ever going to work, and it almost did, to be honest. It almost did, but thankfully I've got my wife there to thank for that. And had I done that and then stayed because of being emotionally blackmailed, then it would have been bitter, and I'd always looked on as being deprived of something that was basically being offered to me. But as I say, that's in the past now. I just want to go and get Celtic right.
But there will always be a place in his heart for the Rugby Park faithful.
They're Kilmarnock fanatics and fantastic supporters, every one of them. But the opportunity came for me to go and become the manager of the club that I supported. And I'm no any different from anybody else. I just jumped at the chance as well. But I would like to think that I never cheated them in any way there. I gave them everything I possibly could as far as playing the game and approaching games and being professional. Every ounce that I ever gave Celtic Football Club I gave to Kilmarnock. I never cheated them in any way. And I tried to conduct myself well as a manager of Kilmarnock because I was very proud to be the manager there. And I'll always look back on that with great fondness. But obviously, you know, there'll be the ones that will think that I betrayed them and things like that, which wasn't the case.
It was a Scottish League matter that Celtic approached Tommy Burns and Billy Stark as manager and assistant. But it is the SFA Executive Committee who on October the 10th will investigate the alleged tapping of the duo as players. Kilmarnock received nothing of the £100,000 fine placed on Celtic, but now Chairman Bobby Fleeting awaits the outcome of the investigation into the affair by the SFA. In the meanwhile, it is clear that relationships between the clubs have reached an all-time low.
If he called emotional blackmail the fact that before he left here I pointed out to him that his choice entered into an extension to his contract, that he had commitments to me as chairman, to the directors, to the fans, to the club, to the players, right? And then point out the consequences to this club, those supporters and those players of him leaving. If that's emotional blackmail, well, check, I would do it again, and I would do it now, because it was my job to ensure that a major asset of this club remained here. And if the only tool left to me was, Tommy, look at the effect this is going to have on this club, then I would do it again. And if it is emotional blackmail, I'm making no apologies for it.
Tommy has accused you of not acting in a dignified manner as would become the chairman of Kilmarnock Football Club.
You know, this is the worst one. On the eve of a match, this is the worst one. And as a direct response of that particular accusation, I did not act, the chairman of Kilmarnock Football Club did not act in a dignified fashion from an official of Celtic on the eve of a match. I've spoken to my colleagues, and not one official of Kilmarnock Football Club will go to either the boardroom or the director's box at Hampden tomorrow. We will not do that. I can't be accused of that one day and then turn up as if nothing had happened, like a hypocrite. Not acting in a dignified fashion. Someone's still to point out to me in Scottish football what I or Kilmarnock Football Club have done wrong. I told Tommy Burns he would not be allowed to speak to Celtic until we agreed compensation. I didn't say he couldn't, I didn't say he wouldn't. I said he will not be allowed to until we agreed compensation. And that was the advice given to me by everyone. Now, dignified fashion, when this last announcement came out from Tommy Burns, the one that he wanted to get it behind him and accuse me of the same things, we never even responded because that's undignified. We wrote to Celtic immediately after they were fined by the League Management Committee of £100,000. We wrote to them in a very dignified fashion privately and didn't let anyone else know this, asking if we'd get together because we were very concerned about the breach between Kilmarnock and Celtic. Have always had a very close relationship. And the reply came back, not only, I've shown you this, didn't even say no, it said if you feel illegal action, take them to court. Right? Now that's not what two Scottish football clubs normally do between each other. I mean, that's unheard of. Act in a dignified fashion. I didn't go down to Manchester and clandestinely meet an official of Celtic to discuss whatever they're supposed to have discussed. Right? That's not acting in a dignified fashion. I would say Kilmarnock Football Club have acted in a very dignified fashion.
So you tell me that the directors of Kilmarnock will be among the crowd, among the away support at Hampden tomorrow?
We're very fortunate that we have a group of supporters that we're able to do that. I'm sure there's a lot of chairmen and directors would find the thought horrendous, but we're able to do that. What I'm saying is that there'll be no official of Kilmarnock Football Club will attend either the boardroom or the director's box.
Bobby Williamson scores for Kilmarnock in the 1-1 draw with Premier leaders Celtic in the highly charged meeting between Tommy Burns' current and former clubs.
Final score, Celtic 1, Kilmarnock 1. As predicted, Kilmarnock's chairman Bob Fleeting shunned the director's box in favour of sitting with his paying fans, sending a clear message to the Celtic directors and the football authorities. He watched his team cope efficiently with the new potent Celtic and saw them take the lead in the 60th minute with a goal that had an element of farce. Sean McSkimming did no more than clear his lines. The ball fell between Mark McNally and Gordon Marshall. They both hesitated, but Kilmarnock striker Bobby Williamson didn't and nipped in to slot home. Then, just as it looked as if justice was served, Celtic got on level terms 3 minutes from time. Bobby Geddes brought off a great save from Simon Donnelly, but the rebound fell to Pat McGinley, who backheeled the ball into the net from 3 yards for a share of the pints. Final score, Celtic 1, Kilmarnock 1.
Thanks, Alistair. And
the row that simmers over Tommy Burns' move from the manager's job at Kilmarnock to the Celtic hot seat in the summer added to the attraction of their meeting at Hampden yesterday. And the feelings of some of the Kilmarnock support were very much in evidence, both visually and audibly.
All the hype surrounded the managerial transfer of Burns and Stark, with some Killie fans forgetting who it was to help lead them out of the football wilderness. A tense afternoon then for the Celtic manager. All this seemed to hang over the sides in a really unremarkable first half. The best chance fell to Celtic in only 4 minutes. Phil O'Donnell setting up Celtic's first opportunity, Andy Walker through, and a great save there from Bobby Geddes. Young Colin McKee, signed last week for £300,000 from Manchester United, showed his class in the early stages, great vision playing the ball wide to the right, and then making the run into the box. But he failed to connect, and a let-off for Celtic. The home side started the day top of the table, and they were aiming to keep the unbeaten run going. Paul McStay back from suspension meant a midfield of 5 players, and at times it looked crowded. But Celtic back on the attack, O'Donnell playing it infield for McGinley. He sidestepped it to Peter Grant, and Lee Martin was there to knock it over the bar. Killie were now growing in confidence. The 1-2 from the corner, Neil Whitworth coming forward, but just off target. At the other end, Celtic looked to carve open the visiting defence, but McGinley unable to connect. Half-time was 0-0. Colin McKee was the main threat on the Killie side early in the second half. He ensured Gordon Marshall was on his toes with this lob. Celtic were really making heavy weather of it. They found some rhythm, O'Donnell and McStay involved, but the skipper's shot saved by Geddes. Then an unbelievable blunder. A long, harmless ball from Sean McSkimming. Mark McNally looking to play it back to goalkeeper Marshall, stubs his foot, and Bobby Williamson is there to nip in and score a remarkable goal and to put Killie in the lead. A terrible blunder by the Celtic defence. Tommy Burns then threw on Simon Donnelly for Lee Martin as they went for all-out attack. It almost paid off, Donnelly combining with the skipper Paul McStay, but he couldn't keep it down. Confidence is everything. Just look at Connor's back heel from McKee. He looked up and saw John Henry, and he really should have done better. A minute later, the former Clydebank man was involved again. Celtic were exposed, but John Henry failing to beat Gordon Marshall. But finally, in 86 minutes, Celtic equalised. Collins, Donnelly and Walker involved. Good stop by Geddes, but he couldn't hold it. McGinley backheels it into the net. 1-1, 4 minutes left on the clock. In the last minute, the Ayrshire side should have collected all 3 points. Colin McKee threw in goal, but with only Marshall to beat, he missed the target, and it finished 1-1.
Well, disappointing actually, all because I felt we played very well indeed. Looked a very good side, and we created a lot of chances. And to lose a late goal was very disappointing because I felt the team played very well indeed.
Yes, it was good to go on the score sheet again. I've just come out of the team the last few games, and obviously it takes a bit of pressure off myself to score that goal. And being equaliser it was quite good.
Well, I seen the two Celtic lads were leaving it to each other, and I just kept on chasing it, and thankfully I got my toe in the end of it. They'll probably be still arguing about it now in the dressing room.
Celtic didn't really seem to get going today, but in the second half your side grew with confidence.
Well, I thought we played well overall. Celtic, they played the ball about in areas and got behind us occasionally, but they never really caused any trouble. But there was chances for both teams, and it led to an open game.
The updated Bell's Premier Division then sees Rangers a point ahead of Celtic, who remain unbeaten along with Hibs. With Hearts recording their first victory yesterday, Kilmarnock are the only side still waiting for a win.